Hello, light of infinite. Today my title is Can Conscious Psychedelic Use be a Tikkun for the sin of Adam HaRishon eating the forbidden fruit? And unlocking the power and potential of psychedelics and bringing intentionality, spirituality, and setting into the modern therapeutic psychedelic space. I'd like to introduce myself to those that have joined from the four corners of the world to enlighten and uplift through this awesome Torah-focused enlightenment event. Thank you, Erez, for putting this together. Shkoyach. I'd like you to know who I am. My name is Saul Kaye, and I'm a pharmacist here in Israel. I made Aliyah from Australia over 20 years ago, and I've been helping patients receive medicine through my pharmacies, both physical and online, globally. I'm most well known for my role in creating and revealing the Israeli cannabis ecosystem and influencing the Israeli Knesset and other governments around the world on cannabis policy. More recently, with my work in the psychedelic space through SciTech, the company I founded at the beginning of Corona to educate and create a community in the emerging psychedelic space. I've been deeply involved in creating Israel's first ketamine psychedelic treatment center, and I've recently returned from Jamaica, where I was part of a team delivering a multi-molecule, multidisciplinary psychedelic retreat, incorporating meditation, nutrition, psychiatry, polychemistry, yoga, and what we call attunement. So you may ask, why am I doing this? People think I'm crazy. They have for a while, and I'm frying my brain. Before I discovered cannabis, I was unconscious, and cannabis helped me to open up in a new way, and I even created a career out of it. I was part of a medicalized system as a retail pharmacist in Israel and Australia, driven by capitalism to maintain rather than treat disease. And I came to realize that pharmacists are gatekeepers to powerful medicines, and we're the most trusted professional in the world because of this. I've been the pharmacist at nursing homes, addiction centers, in my retail operations, emergency treatment rooms in Israel, and even the pharmacist a little bit for the police force training academy. And I see diseases as disruptions in vibration or frequency disorders. And I've come to understand deeply how modern drugs affect those vibrations. Over the last 7 years since my aha moment, when cannabis turned from an illegal drug to a potential medicine that can heal, and a business, I've been on a crusade to free cannabis and have learned about substance use and abuse, my own addictions, traumas, my spirituality, and my inner light. I was a high-functioning alcoholic for many years and an incredibly high-functioning cannabis consumer for the last 7. Can conscious psychedelic use be a tikkun for the sin of Adam HaRishon eating the forbidden fruit? Unlocking the power and potential of psychedelics and bringing intentionality, spirituality, and setting into the modern therapeutic psychedelic space. I'd like to introduce myself and those that have joined from all four corners of the world to enlighten and uplift through this awesome Torah-focused enlightenment online event. Thank you, Erez, for putting it together. Shkoyach. My name is Saul Kaye, and I'm a pharmacist here in Israel. I made Aliyah from Australia over 20 years ago, and I've been helping patients receive medicine through my pharmacies, both physical and online, globally. I'm most well known for my role in creating and revealing the Israeli cannabis ecosystem to the world and influencing the Israeli Knesset and other governments around the world on cannabis policy. More recently, with my work in the psychedelic space through SciTech, the company I founded at the beginning of Corona, to educate and create a community in the emerging psychedelic space. I've been deeply involved in creating Israel's first ketamine psychedelic treatment center, and I've recently returned from Jamaica, where I was part of a team delivering a multi-molecule, multidisciplinary psychedelic retreat, incorporating meditation, nutrition, psychiatry, polychemistry, yoga, and what we call attunement. So why am I doing this? People think I'm crazy and I'm frying my brain. Before I discovered cannabis, I feel I was unconscious. And cannabis helped me to open up in a new way. And I even created a career out of it. I was part of a medicalized system as a retail pharmacist in Israel and Australia, driven by capitalism to maintain rather than treat disease. And I came to realize that pharmacists are gatekeepers to powerful medicines, and we're the most trusted professionals in the world because of this. I've been the pharmacist at nursing homes, addiction centers, and in my retail operations. And I've come to see diseases as disruptions in vibration or frequency disorders. And I've come to understand deeply how modern drugs adjust those vibrations. Over the last 7 years, 7 years ago, I had my aha moment when cannabis turned from an illegal drug to a potential medicine to heal. And I've been on a crusade to free cannabis. And I've learned about substance use, substance abuse, my own addictions, traumas, my spirituality, and my inner light. I was a high-functioning alcoholic for many years and an incredibly high-functioning cannabis consumer for the last 7. Thank Hashem that my addictions didn't cause more damage because I am an addict, now very much recovering one, and one able to see addiction in a new way, a different way, since I've seen it firsthand and pulled myself out with the help of many friends, advisors, family, teachers that supported me in my recovery. And my recovery started with psychedelic-assisted therapy using psilocybin mushrooms, MDMA, and now ketamine. I was open to heal trauma, and I continued my discovery of these molecules in order to have a deeper understanding of how each group of these psychedelics from plants and laboratories affect different vibrations. I've done hundreds of journeys in different settings with healers and friends, in groups, with shamans, in minions, with great practitioners, and a full Pandora's box open to me in my own clinical trial of one. But we need better terms to refer to these powerful drugs, the psychedelic lexicon, if you like. Some are plants, some are synthetic. Some are single molecule, some are multi-molecule with entourage effects. Do we call them substances, molecules, psychedelics, entheogens, hallucinogens? And how do we differentiate? I'll use many of these terms interchangeably throughout. So what have psychedelics taught me? What am I looking for, and what are some of the lessons that I've learned? So back to the premise, unlocking the power and potential of psychedelics and bringing intentionality, spirituality, and setting into the modern therapeutic psychedelic space. Can conscious psychedelic or conscious drug use be a tikkun for the sin of Adam HaRishon, eating the forbidden fruit? But before we get to Adam HaRishon, let's cover some basics. Some basic principles that will help you to understand me and my accent. It's Australian, if you didn't notice. So we're going to cover the idea of a psychedelic or an entheogen, and intention, setting, ritual, and integration. These 5 things, intention, setting, ritual, and integration, that's the magic behind everything. And we'll go into it. So according to Oxford Dictionary, a psychedelic is relating to or denouncing drugs that produce hallucinations and apparent expansion of consciousness. An entheogenic, or an entheogen, is a chemical substance, typically of plant origin, that is ingested to produce a non-ordinary state of consciousness for religious or spiritual purposes. Entheogen literally means inner manifestation of the divine. So we see the emergence of both drugs and plants, medicine, in these definitions, and their use in both ritual and non-ritual settings. And one of the most fundamental things taught about the use of psychedelics is set and setting. But let's expand that to these: intention, preparation, setting, ritual, and integration. This, again, provides the strongest transformational atmosphere for these medicines to do their work. Let's break it down. Intention. This is your kavanah. What do you want to get from your treatment, your medicine? How long do you want that to last? Being taught in yoga, we seek the pain. That's an intention. Preparation. Should you fast, remain from other medicines and drugs, tobacco, cannabis, SSRIs? Should you arrive on an empty stomach, bring sentimental photos, trinkets, a favorite playlist to enhance the experience? Your set. This is the mindset. To be prepared to go and let go, to not be afraid. These medicines are very safe in the hands of skilled professionals. And setting. This is the space that you take your experience. Make sure it's comfortable and safe, cool, has water and a toilet. Could be a beach, a forest, a lake, a room, or a hospital. We're developing clinics with modular pods to enhance the trip experience and bring a new level of ritual. A ritual is a sequence of activities involving gestures, words, actions, or objects, performed according to a set sequence. Rituals may be prescribed by the traditions of a community, including a religious community, and rituals are characterized but not defined by formalism, traditionalism, invariance, rule governance, symbolism, performance, regulation. Lastly, integration. This is where we see the most significant increase clinically with the use of entheogens. Integration is the practice of talk therapy during or following a psychedelic experience. I've learned through my cannabis journey about the conscious use of substances, the difference between drug use and drug abuse. As we move to recreational use of these medicines and drugs, we have the opportunity to change and challenge the status quo and be recreational in our use of these substances. According to Dr. Strassman, our first psychedelic is DMT, a naturally occurring molecule, dimethyltryptamine. It's an endogenous molecule produced on our first breath when we're born as babies. And you also release massive amounts during peak exercise, climbing to the Mount Everest, orgasm, childbirth, ecstasy. My second psychedelic was alcohol, given to me on the 8th day of my existence at my bris. My third was tobacco. My fourth, cannabis. Cannabis is probably the oldest and first entheogen. Psychedelics have the ability to break down walls and barriers that we've put up around trauma. They provide what we call neuroplasticity. You can see this on pictures in MRIs where they're showing brains on psilocybin, on ketamine, on MDMA versus your regular functioning brain. That's neuroplasticity. When we take the bricks down of those walls and we lay new neural pathways, that we then provide an alternative pathway for our mind to travel on. And by cementing these new pathways with practices, also called modalities, like yoga, mindfulness, prayer, creativity, therapy, we're able to restructure our minds and heal trauma, avoid PTSD, post-trauma, anxiety, depression, add motivation and spirituality to that, and we have a formula to reignite a spark in your consciousness. So these molecules are incredibly powerful. No wonder that we're made illegal and locked up. But we can learn from thousands of years of entheogenic ritual and practice. Here a ritual is a set of fences that we put up in order to protect the power of these medicines, as well as to elevate the experience through that set, that order that you went through in the ritual. Regulations are a type of ritual, and the regulations that are being put in place are currently not working to provide a framework that allows conscious consumption, but is focused again towards capitalism and maintaining a habit. Society's locked up these technologies, including alcohol, cannabis, LSD, MDMA, mushrooms, mescaline, and many other synthetic compounds. They also drove garage chemists to create thousands of new molecules with the potential to now be used as approved drugs with FDA approval, potentially only a few years away. But prohibition is coming to an end, and we can see the decriminalization and move towards legal framework of access to cannabis as medicine, and soon psychedelics, at least synthetics, as medicine. And not too far away, because cannabis has been on a legalization pathway globally for the last 10 years, and maybe even more, we're seeing before our very eyes a transformation of an illegal mind opening substance to legal medicine and recreational. And psychedelics are following in this pathway. Phil Wolfson, one of my mentors, has described the difference between recreational use and recreational use, and I think it's fabulous, because recreation is something we do, it's pnai, it's not necessarily elevating, it's sometimes draining. And we can bring recreation into this, and it's a way of tapping into your inner consciousness, inner light, and bringing consciousness to a habit, to something that has habit-forming potential, addiction potential, and we can be conscious about it. And so we should be conscious with psychedelics and cannabis as we release these frameworks to the masses. So how do we bring ritual into the modern clinical setting with psychedelics? And I ask this question as I'm setting up a ketamine clinic here in Israel. So how do you bring ritual to a synthetic psychedelic like ketamine? We're essentially creating the standard by which ketamine will be delivered in therapy. So what's the ritual on a synthetic? In modern drug-related medical care, here's the ritual. You go to the doctor, he prescribes a medicine, a drug. 70% of you go to the pharmacy and you buy it. You go home and roughly 50% of you take it, and only 50% of you finish the course. Not great statistics, but a great ritual, because it seems to work. Imagine if you take your magic pill prescribed by your doctor and you make a blessing on it, or you put some intention in it. Take an Advil and seek out the pain and destroying my pain. Studies show that this enhances the placebo effect and makes that magic pill a little more magical. I would like to point out that the ritual of seeing your doctor and talking to your pharmacist already has a great effect on your treatment, a somewhat placebo effect in and of itself, which is maybe why we don't end up taking the course of medicine actually prescribed. Personal care and connection elevates the pharmacy ritual. I see legal access to MDMA and psilocybin within 2 to 3 years in Israel. We already have ketamine, and we have nasal ketamine. We have nitrous oxide, and in my pharmacy I have at least 10 drugs which are used now today for addiction, ADHD, depression, but they are psychedelics. They're in the books and the molecules that I've learned. So we're going to see MDMA and psilocybin in 2 to 3 years in Israel. This is fantastic, but we still need that ritual framework that protects these molecules while making them safe and affordable. We have created a ritual in our ketamine treatment protocol where we give the patient a ceramic bowl with a syringe inside. We ask the patient to put an intention on the syringe while holding it, and this is shown to elevate the experience. A great example of elevating a substance through ritual is Kiddush on Shabbat. By ritualizing alcohol from potentially being a destructive, negative substance prone to abuse, as in Noach, we bring holiness to it by elevating the grape and ritualizing the consumption in a positive way. Christians do it as well. We do the same by making a blessing and elevate it from the mundane to the holy. This is the difference between conscious and unconscious use of substance. Conscious alcohol use is kiddush. Unconscious use, possibly Purim. We get blind drunk on distilled vodka, like my 18-year-old seems to do at parties. That's unconscious alcohol use. Let's take cannabis again as a scenario. We're legalizing it for sale in cannabis dispensaries, pre-packaged in pre-rolls and high-value concentrates, creating a market of pre-packaged goods for individual consumption, much like tobacco and spirits. We're not providing a consumption arena where we can consume cannabis in social circles outside of our home. And this is essential because cannabis is a social drug. We're essentially creating a ritual of cannabis consumption that mimics tobacco consumption very closely without ritual. Tobacco is addictive, cigarettes are more addictive. We get addicted to taking the time away. If we're anxious people, we can say, I'm going outside for a smoke. We've already created a space and a time. It lasts 5 minutes while I'm smoking that. Everyone has accepted that is acceptable for certain people who have that addiction to step out for that 5 minutes and then come back. That is taking space, creating. So even that use has come unconsciously to be something that can be used consciously. You can roll your tobacco. You can put intention on it. And I've learned to bring conscious tobacco use to my life by rolling tobacco instead of buying cigarettes. The simple fact of rolling and putting intention reminds me not to smoke or chain smoke and use tobacco when I need the nicotine boost, or in ritual together with cannabis as a peace pipe, like the American Indians did. I think that idea that a bracha, a sanctification or an elevation, is recognizing the object you are about to consume has an energy and is a way to tap back in to the shattered light. And we're at the Light of Infinite Festival. We're here to tap in and find that light. A bracha is an amazing way to do that. My title was, Can Conscious Psychedelic Use be used for a tikkun, for the sin of Adam HaRishon eating the forbidden fruit? The sin of Adam and Chava eating the fruit, which there are many, many theories that it was a mushroom, particularly by Terence McKenna, Terence McKenna, sorry. And eating the fruit resulted in a lowering of the vibration. And they suffered a spiritual decline that mankind has been on a pathway to refine that spirituality. This is finding the light within every object, recognizing we are one and all part of a giant interstellar ecosystem. Bringing ritual and elevating the drug experience through a bracha could be an amazing way to do a true tikkun and recreate a framework that reduces harm and reduces some of the potential for harm that exists with these amazing, powerful tools. I suggest the bracha for synthetics be, and please, this is for the Rabbanim, not for me, and I usually get a chuckle when I suggest this. The bracha for synthetics should be Borei Pri Hama'abada, but I leave it to the poskim. As a serial entrepreneur, I recognize the immense power and responsibility I have. I'm a leader and an influencer, and I'm in Startup Nation, so I do want to succeed. And the impact of psychedelic medicine cannot be understated. We are unveiling a shift in treating mental health and soon enlightening the healthy. Mental health is a huge drain on society and productivity, and being our higher selves, we are on the cusp of releasing these therapies, and we have an ethical obligation to improve on the mistakes of the past. And we will make mistakes and fumble, but we will also elevate the vibration and turn on the spark for as many people as we can to get through the red tape and do it responsibly and consciously. So why ketamine? For me, it's legal and prescribable today. It's a therapy I can deliver, like cannabis, through my cannabis dispensaries. I don't have a fight. It exists. We know it. It's affordable. It needs a standard to be created, and I'm good at setting a high standard. It's on the list of World Health Organization drugs to never go out of production. And it's been delivered billions of times safely, and there is abundant data on its safety and efficacy. My surname is Kaye, and ketamine brings structure and balance to our prefrontal madness. And with the ability to vary the dose and setting, we are able to achieve fantastic clinical results. My message is by bringing ritual into the therapeutic setting, increases the vibration and elevates the experience. By taking these molecules, drugs, synthetics, entheogens, psychedelics, hallucinogens, we're discovering or releasing the God within. And we have the opportunity to fix the shvira, the brokenness, and tap into the entheogen, literally God within. And by this fix the universe as we are all connected. A tikkun olam in the deepest and highest sense. Tikkun is not fixing or repairing. It's a fundamental change in the vibration. A true recreation, if you will. Entheogens get me there faster, and I use entheogens as a tool. But my goal is to be in a state where I don't need these powerful tools, and I'm able to just be. Toda rabah.